And welcome back to the Splatoon 2 North American Open, September 2020. Jordan Kent alongside Ashley Esqueda and Charles Nine Whitehead. We're getting set for grand finals. Let's take a look at the bracket here, and we'll go ahead and show you the two teams that'll be facing off. We have FT Win versus Starburst. FT Win, as we continue to say, the epitome of success when it comes to North American Splatoon competitive play, and Starburst, a team that wants to reshuffle the deck and try and claim the crown for themselves. Let's take a look at the rules for grand finals. Just a small little change up versus semifinals here. It'll be best of 7. Yeah, that's right. Give me 2 more games here. You see the maps and the modes that we'll be going with. We'll start with Tower Control on Piranha Pit. Our winning team, each member of that team will get a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, ARMS, and Mario Tennis Aces. So, Ashley, let's begin. A little Tower Control and Piranha Pit. And for those that are familiar with Tower Control on this particular map, there's a checkpoint when it starts to wrap around one of the inclined treadmills that is really the make or break point of this map.
It is absolutely a make or break point. And also Piranha Pit is it's a tight map. It's a quick map. Sometimes this game mode can go very, very quickly on this map. I know I have been on the receiving end of such games. Yeah, this I think might be very exciting, and I have a feeling that we're gonna see who came to win in this opening matchup.
And you mentioned Win, that brings to mind FT Win and 9. We know what they're capable of doing. We've seen it over this incredible run of success they've had. For Starburst, what did you see from them in their semifinal sweep of Supernova that gives you optimism that they might have a chance to pull off an upset here?
The thing I saw most was consistency in their loadouts. So often, if you see a team that's constantly swapping around their loadouts, it's kind of a sign that they don't have a lot of answers. But I think the fact that they could keep Jared on that Kensa Splattershot Pro, which is a weapon that's so good at taking down shorter range weapons. Brand was comfortable on that Kensa sloshing machine, and Ice can play every backliner in the book. I think it means they know exactly what they want to do here. They're confident in what they have. They feel like they don't need to change it. If they execute, maybe, just maybe, we can see it happen.
Yeah, they had some real back and forth battles with Supernova, but they were able to close things out, had no issues with that sweep once again. Well, as we said, Tower Control on Piranha Pit, and a map here once again, Ashley, where those treadmills have a lot to say as far as teams and the way that they approach. But also when you look at Spawn, you have a couple of different levels that you can get to get the high ground to really play some smart defensive schemes if you find yourself in a situation where you need to have a comeback.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Ice and Biscuit facing off up on those high grounds. I think we're going to see a lot of that range. And really, I mean, I think this is going to come down to, can Starburst put enough pressure consistently on FT Win? Because FT Win is sort of a, let's close this out as quick as possible. Let's be aggressive. Let's get in there. But if you can chip away at them, if you can wear them down over the course of a game, you might get them to make an unforced error, and you might be able to capitalize on it.
And that was one thing you talked about, Nine. When it comes to Tower Control, you really want to have that consistent push the entire game. You want to control the map. That's really the key to finding that little crevice, that little opportunity to expand the lead or get that knockout opportunity.
It is, and this is a map where in many tower control maps, if the tower starts moving away from your spawn, if it gets further and further away, the points come very quickly, and that's why, as you two put it, this map goes by very, very quickly. I'm really eager to see what they're going to bring to the fight in order to get past that key checkpoint that you mentioned. I think Inkjet could work, I think Booyah Bomb could work, I think Stingray could work, but they're going to need to be able to do it at the highest level.
And Ashley, a lot of times when you're on offense and that tower's moving, and we know that it can move a little slow sometimes, let's be honest, you've got to be careful about when you're on the tower. You can't just ride that thing out the entire time. We've seen some of these teams make some incredible plays when they choose to hop off the tower, even though they're advancing.
We did it in the last match, right? So Ice was on the tower, and a Booyah Bomb was incoming from Supernova, and you saw him hop off the tower. And these players are so good and have so many hours logged in this game that they know exactly the range of the outside of that bomb. They know exactly the range of pretty much everything in the game. So you saw him go just to the outside of that Booyah Bomb, and as soon as it was over, he was right back on that tower. And that's the difference maker. It is the difference maker, is the thing that allows you to keep pushing, to keep putting that pressure on. And they just did a great job of it.
And Nine, as we continue to look at this high-level play, what is it about Piranha Pit that so many players enjoy about this particular map?
It's very unique, right? So many of the maps, you can tell that there's a very identifiable flow. You've got 2 or 3 ways of coming out of spawn. You've got 2 or 3 ways of attacking spawn. Piranha Pit's not a Splatoon 2 original. It came back in the original Splatoon. And because of that, it has different conventions, right? If the opponent takes your side of the map, it's very difficult to get out of spawn. So as a result of that, yes, it can be very dangerous, but you always feel like you have a chance if you hit that point of no return.
Yeah, and also what stands out to me, Ashley, is the tower is very elevated in the middle of this map. You've got to have a decent climb, and with that, there's a bit of a natural wall that divides one side from the other, and those treadmills extend east and west very far, so it isn't really easy to navigate to the other team's side. You've got to be very careful about how you go over there, and with that tower in a very interesting neutral position, you figure the action will be very furious right in the middle of the map.
I think we're gonna, I feel like we might see, do you feel like we're gonna see some sloshing action, Nine? I feel like we might see a slosher happening here.
Sloshing machine, I think, is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
All right, well, looks like we're getting set here for tower control on Piranha Pit, as we mentioned. FT Win facing off against Starburst. FT Win 3-0 in their semifinal. Starburst 3-0 as well, too. And, you know, you look at FT Win and their championship pedigree here, Nine, and this is a team that has been on the biggest stage before. And when you can be that cool, calm, and collected in these high-pressure tournament moments, that right there is a huge competitive advantage over anybody that's trying to go ahead and take your spot at the top.
Yeah, what's the old adage? Act like you've been there before? Well, that's very easy to do when you are the only team that has been there before, since you've come together as a team. They have won, again, 4 Nintendo events in a row, 4 huge North American Opens, and they're trying to make it 5 right now. For them, this is just another day at the office. For everyone else, it'd be the biggest one of their careers. That's an advantage for certain.
And Ashley,
I was gonna say, especially because Starburst is a pickup team. Like this is, I mean, it's wild to me that, oh, this is just it's a pickup team. Like we're just in the top 4, we're in the grand finals, and we're playing against the exact opposite, which is a team that has been together for a very long time and has dominated the scene. So I think this is this is a very exciting grand finals for me.
And Nine, Splatoon, the game, the franchise, the history, it's over 5 years now. Back in 2015, when we were all blessed with this wonderful game that we've had a chance to really just sink our teeth into over these last 5 years. And you just look at, once again, how the community has grown. And you were mentioning some of the numbers you saw for tournaments early on and how the engagement has increased multiple times over, and just the consistency of the community engagement thanks to the Splatfest and everything. And that's really what seemed to stand out about this game, about Splatoon 2 in this community over the years.
Yeah, it's, you know, we've had 2 tournaments over the course of this year that got over 700 teams. You know, assuming every team brought 4 people, that's almost 3,000 players showing up for one event. And it's because they love this game. There are people who, of course, love different parts about the game. Maybe they like the fighting up close. Maybe they just like the idea that it's a shooter that's a little bit more colorful, that everybody can enjoy. But the fact that they continue to show up 3 years into this game, 5 years into the series, I think it shows that this truly is a franchise that is built to last.
Yeah, and Ashley, we talk about all the specifics for the different ranked modes, of course, but when it comes down to it, the basic fundamental comes down to covering the map with ink and how big of a role that plays in every single one of these modes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game, right? It doesn't matter what mode you're playing, as long as you have good territory control, 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out on top. And that's the way that, you know, that's the way to win. It is the best defense and offense, right? Putting down ink does both. And so I think that's what makes each mode so exciting. It makes it so easy to have a comeback. Like I think that is one of the things that really makes this game in particular unique. And for me, it's so much fun and so cool to see players who have thousands of hours logged in this game, to be able to watch them and be inspired by them as a player of Splatoon, to watch them and say, oh, wow, like that's how you handle that situation. Because I've never been in that situation or played at that level. It's really exciting for me as a player just to be able to see them and take notes, right? That's take notes and maybe up my game a little bit.
We're getting set for grand finals action here, still getting a few things calibrated. Let's take a look at the rules once again for grand finals. A bit of a change as opposed to semifinal action. Best of 7. Let's walk you through here. Tower Control on Piranha Pit, Splat Zones on Skipper Pavilion, Rainmaker, Inkblot Art Academy, Splat Zones, Humpback Pump Track, that'll make a resurfacing. Tower Control on Wahoo World if necessary, Splat Zones on Starfish Main Stage if necessary, and then Rainmaker on Anchovy Games if we get an exciting Game 7. One more look at the bracket as well, too. Over 350 teams nearly getting a chance to register for this September 2020 North American Open. FT win 3-0 over Sayonara. Starburst 3-0 over Supernova, but 9 Starburst and Supernova had some real back and forth action taking place, and Starburst, we really saw some terrific matches, especially that first one, Splat Zones on Humpback Pump Track, to open up that semifinal.
Yeah, again, it shows understanding over all of the different modes when you have to make comebacks and you have those back and forth matches, because we've gone back to this word so many times, composure. You are going to lose leads in Splatoon at this level. The opponent will have their say, the opponent will have their day. Eventually, you will have to, in the heat of the moment, make a choice that will win or lose you the game. These players, more often than not, make that choice the correct way.
And we see those choices and how they play out. And, you know, Ashley, we've called many of these high-level tournaments, whether it's been in person or online. And when you get to the grand finals, there's just something that's different. You just feel a little bit more gravity to each particular game and for the matches in general. And that could play a huge role in a pickup team like Starburst that's trying to do what many people haven't been able to do over the last year and a half, and that is defeat FT Win in a North American competition.
That is so true. I mean, hey, it's the cliche of the scrappy upstart, right? That's what we want to see. We want to see the David versus Goliath story. I love it. I think that that's really exciting, and Starburst is really coming in with momentum, right? So they're fired up. They've just had a sweep. FT Win maybe a little more used to the sweeps, right? And sometimes that can cause a little bit of complacency. So it'll be interesting to see how serious FT Win takes Starburst. And I mean, obviously they're going to take them seriously. They're in the grand finals with them. But it only takes just a little bit of let up for a team like Starburst to really take advantage.
And now you look at the different roles on each team. And one thing you were saying in our preparation for this Open is that every team feels like they have one of the best frontliners in the world here. What is going to be the role of the frontliners for these elite squads?
The role of the frontliner is maybe the most amalgamous role in all of Splatoon, which seems like a bit of it doesn't seem like that'd be the case. It'd say, okay, if you're a frontliner, you go and attack. But against these teams, if you hold forward and attack them, you're going to get taken out. They're not going to miss. So I think what you really want to look for here is the angles that they take to get into those fights. One of the old adages, look where the opponent is firing and don't go that way. Go a different way. But that's, of course, not easy to do. So take a minute as these games are going on, if you're newer to the game, and watch how these fighters approach the big firefights. I guarantee that's going to teach you a lot about this game at the highest level.
Yeah, and it's such a good point. There's so many fundamentals that are easy to pick up, but to master this game, it's extremely difficult. Let's go ahead and get our grand finals off and rolling. Tower Control on Piranha Pit. You see the tower in the middle and many treadmills to either help, expedite, or impede your progress. And we have an early Ink Armor coming out by Bursty, and it's going to be the tower claimed by FT Win in the purple to start things off here, Ashley.
That was a fast build. I mean, these teams, these players can build a special so quickly. And, look at this play. So smart, jumping back to spawn. Sometimes you just got to get out. And you want to just keep that special, hold it as long as you can. And if you got to go back to spawn, then that's what it means.
Starburst through the first checkpoint. Early lead here over FT Win, but we know that no early lead is safe against this elite squad. See the baller explode from Brand. Brand trying to back up, but it's Shaq that gets the splat. 3-2 advantage, though, here. 9 for Starburst as they make their way to the second checkpoint.
Yeah, we talked about the point of no return. I didn't think it would fall in the first minute. Credit Kyo here for at least mitigating some of this damage. What a fantastic opening here from Starburst. They're going to be able to clear the tower. They're going to get back on it here very shortly. This is not the way I expected this game to start.
Anthony trying to provide a little bit of support. Double splat there by Anthony. Looks like it was the Splat Bomb that got that one for Anthony, so well placed, eliminating half of FT Win. Tower is resetting at this point, so Starburst not really advancing the objective, even though they are splatting FT Win left and right. Plenty of time left, though. We all know in tower control, you gotta consistently apply that pressure. Ashley, though, you're not too concerned about FT Win. They've shown plenty of patience and poise in similar situations.
I mean, the one thing about FT Win they have going for them is experience, right? They've played for so long together. They know exactly how to capitalize on any mistake that Starburst is going to make. And so they're just going to keep playing. They're going to keep applying pressure. And as soon as that window opens, you can bet all of them are going to jump on it.
Double Inkjet patrolling the skies for FT Win. They're trying to clear out some room. That's going to send Starburst on the retreat. And 9 once again, FT Win being patient. Even though they took that initial punch to start off this match, they're now in control of the tower.
They are, and they're in control of the map too. You saw that Kyo was all the way advanced right under the opponent, and he's in a spot where if anybody tries to come this way, he's going to be able to get the jump on them, and firing those missiles will make it even easier. Look at the way that they are controlling this tower. 3 people around it, everybody waiting, always collecting information. And look at this. This Booyah Bomb had better hit everybody on the map, and it didn't hit anybody.
The double Inkjets coming out for FT Win. They're timing it, but they get completely wiped as Starburst doing a fine job of holding their position. They got a 16-point lead as we approach the 2-minute mark. Seems to be Booyah Bombs versus Inkjets in this matchup. FT Win, Starburst, our first match of these grand finals. Starburst trying to steal the first game here. Jared with the Booyah Bomb coming out, looking for a target. Can't find anybody, just launches it up top, trying to clear some room. Here we have Starburst, Ashley. It was the thing that we saw in Anchovy games in semifinals, just apply that consistent pressure as we get a huge one-on-one splat against Kyo.
That was a big deal. Kyo is so good at capitalizing on 1v1s. And so for Jared to make that pick is just really key. You can see Biscuit laying down. He's doing his best. He's laying down so much ink. And he's got that inkjet, and he just, I mean, he is... The range and the accuracy is so impressive from both backliners, Ice and Biscuit. And I love watching them. I'm so inspired by it.
And 9, a little bit of a different situation for FT Win on this push. They don't have as much map control as they typically have. And for Starburst, you're really liking where you're at with 1 minute left.
You are. You actually saw Biscuit couldn't advance at all with that Inkjet. That Inkjet almost had to be used as an opening to try to give them some sort of control. Sometimes you use map control to get picks. Sometimes you get picks to gain map control. But you see right there, they've been stuck in that corner for a little while. And if they continue to trade in this situation, it's going to be Booyah Bomb Central on that tower, and they're not going to be able to make any progress.
FT Win continues to apply the pressure. Starburst just has to try and hang on for 30 seconds. Tower resets. 4-3 advantage for FT Win. Starburst getting one more inkling to join the crew here. But this is going to be the make or break moment of this match. Starburst trying to hang on. Neither team losing a player yet. It's just a lot of inking going on back and forth. Here's Anthony trying to get down low, apply a little pressure and chase out FT Win. FT Win's on the tower. 8 seconds left. Tenta missiles coming. Anthony retreats. Here's the tower moving slowly for FT Win, but they're going to have to get through a checkpoint and then some change if they want to get this victory. Overtime here. Tower's cleared, and that'll do it. Starburst taking the very first game in these grand finals. And Ashley, how about the patience and poise of this scrappy, put-together team of all these different ingredients for Starburst?
So much patience. So much patience. You saw that one exchange where just nobody was getting splatted for a good amount of time. I want to say 20 seconds. I mean, that's a long time in Splatoon, and that's the type of patience that you need. You can't be overeager, right? Because if you extend just a little too far, it could mean the end. And so they really did a great job of staying patient, knowing that they had the lead, saying, hey, listen, we just got to hold on to it. Let's take our time. Let's not make mistakes. And they took the win.
In 9, it seemed like Starburst's ability to control the map once they had the lead really slowed down a lot of those pushes that FT Win was trying to make.
It does. And again, for you statisticians out there, 11 Inkjets for FT Win, 11 Booyah Bombs for Starburst. Do you think you see the contrasting styles there, the ideas right there? that huge opening push that got them that lead. They were confident that if they could get that, they could cycle Booyah Bombs to, even if 2 of them were down, at least slow down the push just long enough. A fantastic game plan there. They knew exactly what they wanted from the get-go. And guys, we have not seen FT Win drop a game in one of these events in a long time. I'm getting a little excited here.
It's been 84 years.
So the first drop of ink is landed by Starburst. They take the first game in this best of 7. And Ashley, that Booyah Bomb is such a great defensive tool. And if you have a lead, you can use it so effectively to just cover that tower. And that's what Starburst seemed to do, as Nine pointed out, is, okay, we have the lead. Let's just be smart, because we know that with this map, it's a very difficult map to really quickly retake the lead.
And they also knew that FT Win had to clear a checkpoint. And so to be able to win, they would have had to have cleared a checkpoint, like you said, and some change. So to be able to say, let's just hold our specials, let's hold those Booyah Bombs until we absolutely need them, until it looks like we're going to need them. If they had cleared that checkpoint, I think you would have seen more Booyah Bombs going off on the tower. But yeah, I mean, it's again, it's patience, it's composure, it's being able to know when to hold them and when to fire off your specials. I know when I first started playing Splatoon, that's like the first thing you want to do. Just as soon as you get that special, you want to use it. But the coordination of the Booyah Bomb is so key as a defensive. It's a defensive strategy that works so well in tower control.
And Nine, when you get to the last 30, 20 seconds of a game, it's so important to remain on the map. You can't get splatted. And we saw Starburst do a fine job of just keeping 4 players on the map to close out as the timer ran down to 0.
Yeah, and I think for all of you support players out there, we had a great view of Anthony there towards that last 20 seconds, playing the Splatter Shot Junior, a weapon that doesn't have a lot of range, and when you're up top, you may be thinking, okay, let me jump down, let me paint a little bit, I can get another armor. No, throw bombs at the tower. You can contribute, but you can't contribute if you're back in spawn at the most important time of the game. I thought that was a great example of how you can still understand the objective of the game and identify exactly what your weapon and your kit can do best in that situation.
Coming up next, we'll have Splat Zones and Skipper Pavilion. And Ashley, you look at Skipper Pavilion, and it's one of those maps where all the action seems to just funnel downwards into that splat zone. You've got a couple different avenues to approach, but once you look at that splat zone, there really isn't a lot of different angles to approach it. Everyone's really coming from one direction, and that allows you to really focus your defensive efforts, it seems like, if you can get that zone.
Very much so, and I think range is going to play a huge role in this map. So I think Ice and Biscuit are going to be the playmakers here. I'm very curious to see what Biscuit decides to roll out with, and I'm very curious to see what Ice rolls out with. I think we might see some. I don't know what we're gonna see. I'm so curious, but the backliners in this game, I think, are really gonna make or break the ability to keep the splat zone.
Skipper Pavilion, Splat Zones. Starburst taking the first game in this grand final best of 7. All right, you won 1 against FT Win. Now you're looking for 3 more. FT Win, I'm sure, not shaken. But they find themselves in a deficit and losing a game for the first time in a long time. All right, Nine, looking at this map and that splat zone, as we said before, very unique about the location of where it's at compared to a lot of other maps where there aren't a lot of opportunities to come from different angles.
No, there aren't. But the 2 angles that you can come from there almost seem equally threatening, right? You can send 2 people on the bottom and 2 people at the top. And if you don't meet that with equal ferocity on the defensive side, you are in a bit of trouble here. So you can see right now, both sides are probably going to play it a little cautiously at the start and try to build up some points. It's mostly been an exchange of bombs. And Anthony finally able to get a pick with that. That might be enough to open it up. Look at how spread out the defenses were. They had to be.
You pointed out Anthony in that support role, just throwing bombs. Sure, you don't have a lot of distance on your weapon, but those bombs can cover a lot of real estate, and Starburst able to regain the splat zone after giving up 26 points to FT Win early on. Now, we see a different approach here, Ashley. We see Starburst really moving forward now that they have the zone.
I'm impressed. I mean, this is very aggressive play. I love seeing Ice down there just firing away up and over some of these walls. I mean, it's really impressive. But unfortunately, FT Win's going to take it back. And now Starburst has a penalty.
Starburst, they have faced an onslaught of specials coming out. You see Kyo putting in some terrific work with that sloshing machine. Kyo trying to cover up some territory, just cover the bases, build up special. You see Bursty in your top left with a little bit of height advantage right now, working up top, trying to cover that zone. FT Win trying to get back into this one and recapture the lead from Starburst. And now, Nine, it seems like FT Win's doing a better job of really spacing out their players to cover all the different entry points into this zone.
It is, and it does help when the opponent puts 3 people up on top there, almost 4 people there, depending on when Ice got there. The decision was made there to try to go all in for a push on one end and hope that the opponent would be a little spread out. Fortunately, they had enough specials to deal with it, but that's a very, very bold play to make at this stage of the game.
FT Win able to hang on and keep Starburst from building into that penalty and recapturing the lead. FT Win now going to build upon their lead. Jared trying to advance, but you see the Ink Storm coming through here. Booyah Bomb just outside the clouds, able to avoid some of the damage. But that splashdown negating all the work done by that Booyah Bomb. Now it's 1945, FT Win with the lead, but Starburst recaptures the zone with a 4-3 advantage on the map. Make it 4-2. Here's that opportunity, Ashley, to start chipping away and get back into this game.
Very much so. And that 3-on-1 was, I think, that was a key pickoff. They're going to have a little bit of time. Hopefully it'll clear this penalty. I think it will. And, but I mean, here comes FT Win, and it looks like they're not about to let this go without a pretty big fight.
And Nine, what seems to stand out about this map is when you respawn and you're trying to get back in the defensive, you've got a lot of safety where you're at near your spawn to build up your special, then make that push.
You do, and now here we have the Booyah Bombs. This could be huge. Can they hold throughout this? Look at that, only 1 point they needed, but the second Booyah Bomb wasn't able to land in time. They had the 2 queued up there, but they weren't able to get it. They were able to get a couple picks, but we talked so much about the penalty. FT Win got what they came for and a little bit more. Now they've got full map control.
That penalty was absolutely huge. Starburst was just a couple of seconds away from taking a lead with 1:30 left, flirting with a 2-0 lead in Grand Finals. Now it's FT Win that is building upon their lead at this point. Ice trying to throw the Booyah Bomb, recapture the zone here. 7 seconds away for FT Win. Starburst trying to recapture it. That's going to put a hefty penalty on FT Win. Now Starburst just has to try and hold down the fort, but the aggression coming back from FT Win here, Ashley, they've got a chance to recalibrate here, but only 30 seconds left until Starburst starts chewing into that lead.
I mean, Ice really that was a sacrifice play that was very smart on his part. I mean, he just needed to get in there, needed to take that splat zone, did what he needed to do, and maybe ended up needing to respawn, but at the end of the day, like, that prevented the win, so he did the right thing.
Jared gets cornered. FT Win recaptures the zone, making things even more difficult for Starburst. Under 30 seconds left, Starburst has the zone, but they're going to have to hold out the zone for the rest of the game at this point if they want to come back into it. A tall task indeed. 2-on-1 opportunity for FT Win. Ice retreats. Very wise move here. Here come plenty of bombs. That Fizzy Bomb getting a few sprinkles of ink on Ice. Ice backing up, has the Booyah Bomb ready to go. Wants to close off this entry point. 7 seconds left for Starburst. Can they hold on and recapture the victory at the end? They have to hang on and recapture the zone. They're looking for it. It's overtime, but no! Jared can't do enough. Gets splatted. And for the second time in this match, Starburst just a few seconds away from taking the lead, but FT Win does just enough here, Nine, to get the victory.
I cannot stress to you all how close they were to losing that game. Ice put 3 shots onto Biscuit before turning to go and fire at somebody else. If Biscuit had gone down, they would not have been able to get that jump in, and Ice might have 1v3'd them for the victory there by himself. But the pedigree, man, we say it so often, the composure to, even in those situations, identify what you need to do to not let emotion take over. They're probably calmer than I am right now. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. They are cool customers.
Well, it goes to show you, Ashley, that you can hold the zone for 35, 40 seconds like we saw Starburst do on 2 separate occasions. But when you get to those final 3 seconds to recapture the lead, every single decision has to be so precise. And as Nine pointed out, when you make a little slip up like that against a team like FT Win, they will make you pay.
I think if there had been any other Starburst player available in that zone, I think this would have been very different. I think the outcome of that would have been very different that game. Ice I mean, a 3v1 for anybody is almost impossible, but for Ice, I mean, it's possible, which, I mean, it could have happened. And so I think that, in some parallel universe, Starburst is celebrating a win right there.
Makes it 1-1 in our grand finals. It's best of 7, so both teams able to even things up. FT win narrowly, hanging on to a victory in Splat Zones on Skipper Pavilion. Up next, we're going to have Rainmaker on Inkblot Art Academy. And 9, this is another interesting map where it's got one critical point, and it's that uninkable ramp to get up to the spawn area that really can determine how this match goes.
Exactly. A lot of people would call this maybe the most un-Rainmaker of all Rainmaker maps because there is only one way. You have to go up that ramp. At that point, it becomes a sprint. You can, slow down your sprint. You can stutter step and juke here. But for the most part, it is one path here. And I think that Ice, once again, we've been saying his name a lot, he's going to have the opportunity to really make that push difficult, not only by stopping the Rainmaker, but by making sure nobody gets up there for free. A little chip damage is going to make the rest of the job much easier for his teammates. I'm actually a little more curious how Starburst is going to make their push. They've been the more defensive team so far, a little bit more measured. That might have to change on this map.
Yeah, as you pointed out, and Ashley, typically with Rainmaker, you've got a bunch of different routes if you want to avoid the traffic jam, but you can only go up one way. When you go up that ramp, and we're going to see it multiple times throughout this match, we talk about on defense, Ashley, that you want to see the different ways the offense is coming. But when you're on offense, you also have to identify the different ways that the defense is trying to come and apply pressure to you.
Indeed. And I think we're going to see when you're on offense in this particular map, again, there are very few ways. There's one way up. So we're going to see, I think, maybe a little bit more range from the loadouts. I think Biscuit is going to be up in the middle on that tower, firing away, doing the best he can to make a path. But I mean, I think it's going to come down to, for me, I think it's going to come down to better bomb placement, right? And the Stingray. I mean, I think that's what the two things that it's really going to come down to is who can throw better bombs, who's got this. I have a feeling Ice is going to have a Stingray here. Let's see if I'm right.
Rainmaker Inkblot Art Academy. Only one route that you can go, so you better be ready. Yeah, you throw the question mark up there. Both teams certainly are ready to go. No changes here. You've got FT Win in the purple. You've got Starburst in the yellow. 9, walk us through some of these loadouts and what to expect.
We've seen this already. We've seen it a lot. It's going to be very much what we saw in the tower control game with some minor changes here. The comps and philosophy is very similar. Look at that. Kyo tried to go up there and get Ice. Ice was able to get him, and then Bursty with the Rainmaker is able to go ahead and get Ice. So a nasty trade there at the start. That's Brand down as well. The Rainmaker's been the most effective weapon in the field so far.
FT winning the Rainmaker. I don't need your help. I can pave my own way here. You see the Booyah Bomb trying to come and negate things, but able to get that Rainmaker up over the ramp, and now you're looking for the opportunity to advance in enemy territory. One more Booyah Bomb coming out. Rainmaker hasn't been splatted. Here's an opportunity for FT Win to try and push forward, but Starburst able to hold their water, and you see why it's so difficult, Ashley. Even with those 4-2 advantages we saw with FT Win, they couldn't get it up the ramp.
No, oh man, it's so tough to get up that ramp. Let's see Brand just takes out Kyo. It's like, you can't hide. You can swim, but you can't hide from me. I love it. But yeah, this is the toughest. It's one of the toughest Rainmaker maps, and that uninkable surface is exactly why. I mean, this is going to be tough for either team.
Starburst's turn to try and scale the mountain at this point. 4-4 on the map. You see the Inkjet patrolling for FT Win. Shaq trying to avoid the burst from that Rainmaker. He'll go ahead and negate that opportunity for Starburst. Rainmaker pops it right there on a ramp until he gets picked up after school. Shaq applying some pressure on the Booyah Bomb. Able to get the splat, but the Booyah Bomb gets deployed. And now the Rainmaker gets lost once again in the middle of the map. So a lot of action here, 9, in the middle, and territory control continues to be important on Inkblot Art Academy.
It is, and when we talk about risk mitigation, you have seen a lot of it in this map. No player willing to rush forward unless they feel like they've got a decent look. Look at that. FT Win didn't even pick up the Rainmaker because they weren't certain that the winds were in their favor, and now the missiles are going to be there, and that's huge for the missiles because look at that. FT Win was actually 3 down at that time. Ice is going to have to try to pop this with his teammates up ahead, but they might not get anything out of that. What a huge play by Shaq.
Yeah, the Tenta missiles coming in clutch for FT Win, getting the splat. Starburst unable to hide behind that wall, and that'll be another splat for Biscuit with that Nautilus, just applying so much pressure from up above. Rainmaker will go ahead and reset. FT Win with the 67-83 early advantage. And Ashley, you pointed out those backliners putting in work, painting a masterpiece here in Inkblot Art Academy.
I mean, they've got to lay out that runway. I mean, they're giving, I mean, Biscuit, oh God, the accuracy with that inkjet is just so good. He's just out there doing the work, making way for his teammates to take that Rainmaker. I mean, it's so great. It's so great. Even though he gets splatted, it doesn't even matter. He's just so good at it.
Brand with the direct, able to get the splat, then assist with the chip damage. However, FT Win pushes that Rainmaker even further into Starburst territory. That's really difficult to get to at that point. Under $1:45 left, Starburst will try to recalibrate here with the Rainmaker. They've got a special to go. Here comes a Booyah Bomb and a Baller. That won't take out any member of FT Win, though, so now 9, you don't have any specials, really, as you get set for this push.
No, you don't, and it's going to be very difficult. Look at Bursty right now, moving around here, making sure that if all else fails, he does not go down. Build up another special, throw another bomb, do whatever you have to do. But, I mean, you said it perfectly well. It took all their resources to get to this point. Now what do? You've got nothing left.
Shaq unleashing the Tenta missiles. They get a chance to slow down the Rainmaker. It's available for FT Win if they want it. They grab it. They know that Starburst is spawning right now and a chance to really advance it. They're not wasting any time. Shaq will go upstairs to try and take out Brand, but Brand doing a terrific job of winning that 1v1. Rainmaker still on Starburst's side. Under a minute left. FT Win trying to take a 2-1 advantage in Grand Finals. Brand with another splat on Kyo. You figure Starburst has got one more solid push left in the tank. Being a little bit more reserved with the specials this time. That Baller ready to go for Brand. 73-49. FT Win with this advantage. And 9 with 30 seconds left. You figure you can sit back and be a little bit more defensive-minded if you're FT Win.
Yeah. Most forward-pushed player there, and frankly, he's the best frontliner that they have right now in terms of the weapon. Biscuit going to use his Inkjet to push this one to bed, and right now, Brand's just got to defend the Rainmaker. That's all he can do at this point. He's going to try to get a pick here, try to force people back the other way. But Biscuit's going to fire down there. Brand's going to be in a 1v4. What a way for that one to end. Painful.
Starburst unable to really capitalize with their specials, so FT Win just doing enough. You see how hard it is to advance the Rainmaker in this particular map. Really just 2 solid pushes by FT Win was all that they needed to go up 2-1. And Ashley, it's the usefulness of your specials. You have to be effective. And we saw that one opportunity that Starburst had where they kind of whiffed on 2 specials and they weren't able to make a push when there was plenty of time left on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you've got that many specials all together, you've got to do something, right? You've got to make a play. You've got to get something out of it. The return has to be there. And unfortunately, especially in that one situation where they had so many specials, burned all of them and got absolutely nothing out of it. That's tough. That's really, really tough. And again, FT1 is so good at making the most of those mistakes.
And 9, it really seemed like FT Win did a really nice job on that final push where they got into the 40s of really climbing the different steps of spawn for Starburst and not waiting for Starburst to approach them, but rather taking the fight to Starburst as they move the Rainmaker forward.
They did. And, you know, one of the key elements of that push was, stop me if you've heard this one, Biscuit's Inkjet, right? Because he was able to use that from such a great distance and hit so accurately, he took out Ice in that push. And if you take out anybody, it's good. But if you take out the backliner, the stabilizing force that had kept the defense up to that point for Starburst, that was what really started that staggered spawn. And that's what allowed them to make the big push in the way that they did.
We'll get set for a familiar map and mode. It'll be Splat Zones on Humpback Pump Track. Both these teams obviously victorious on these modes on their way to Grand Finals. And Ashley, what we've seen now in 2 matches on Humpback Pump Track is that once you secure the zone, it becomes so important in the way that you're able to hold off the other team on such a small map.
Starburst is going to have to put down a tremendous amount of ink to territory control because FT1 is so good at this map. I mean, it's an uphill climb it's an uphill climb. And I think that, the FT Win is just so strong on splat zones, and to see them playing and be so coordinated, so composed, and have so much experience that they've pretty much seen every situation, every type of, strategy. They know how to respond. So Starburst is going to have to come with some really just AAA level play here.
So a smaller map here, Humpback Pump Track. One of the classic stages that you can use for splat zones, and really forces everybody in the action here. And any changes you're seeing with these loadouts here, Nine, or are we seeing still just these consistent builds from these teams that are able to be so flexible on the map and mode?
Well, we're not seeing a change from last game, but we are seeing a change from the last time that FT Win was on this map. Take a look at Biscuit. That Explosher is not out. That one, I think, is probably going to be seeing the shelf for the rest of this event. He knows that they cannot afford to take the pedal off of the gas at all, and he's going to need to stay on that Nautilus if they're going to continue to play their game.
FT Win with the early claim on the territory in the middle, losing control to Starburst, but once again regaining it. So Starburst unable to capitalize on some opportunities to retake the zone. They finally do apply a penalty on FT Win, and now it's Starburst actually trying to push back FT Win.
Starburst doing a really good job keeping him out of there right now. Although, I think can Bursty win this 1v1? Can he do it?
How did he get through all of that?
I don't know.
That's unbelievable. How did he get through? There were 3 people there.
It's magic. I don't know. Are they all wizards? I don't know. How do they do it?
Some of the best frontliners in the world on display. You see Biscuit with the Inkjet able to push back Starburst, and FT Win. You didn't know what type of style they're going to play in this one. It's clear now. They're going to claim the zone and chase you. Unbelievable right there, Nine. Picking them off in midair with that Nautilus.
Yep, and that's why we saw it. There is no way that his previous weapon would have been able to do this. Being able to run in and push them back like that, that's been essentially 2 specials that he's negated. This one's going to come in. Biscuit might be able to get that one too, but great work to Ice getting that. They didn't capitalize on the zone though, and Jared's got to be very careful. This game's almost over.
Yeah, Starburst really failed on an opportunity there, and Starburst unable to capture the zone. This is FT Win all day long so far, but Starburst, there you go. Huge penalty on FT Win. Here's a chance for them to exhale. Think about what they need to do, sort of find some equilibrium once again for Starburst, because FT Win has been so aggressive early on in this match. Under 3 minutes left here. And Ashley, now we see Ice back there with that Splatling doing a fine job of just slowly advancing and playing that backline role.
He's very, very methodical, and that's what makes him so good. He's excellent at positioning. He knows exactly where he needs to be. He has fantastic situational and awareness. He knows exactly where all his opponents are and his teammates.
Starburst really doing a terrific job of getting back into this game here. Looks like they were really on their heels, but FT Win got pushed back after Starburst claimed the zone. Here comes FT Win, recapturing things and putting a penalty on Starburst. Just around the 210 mark here, so plenty of time for Starburst here, 9. It seems like once they can stabilize and not get so spread out into these 1v1s, this is when they seem like they can really go toe-to-toe with FT Win.
They can. I mean, at this point, the execution for both sides, these players are going to make the plays that they need to. It's being able to coordinate these attacks, misdirect the opponent, that next level of team play that really separates them right here. Earlier, we saw Biscuit. 3 people went after Biscuit, and that's what allowed FT Win to come in. Here, it's missiles combining with someone else pushing up. But I do want to note there, they took 1 person down, and all they lost was a little bit of zone. They didn't lose any Inklings there, so Starburst, this is their best chance.
Oh, but FT Win able to get them on the relocation. Kyo and Ice will go ahead and swap some splats, and Starburst still applying some pressure here. They're getting closer to erasing that penalty. Oh, but FT Win able to claim the zone. That is some fine defensive responsiveness by FT Win, but Starburst, Ashley, they aren't quitting. We're nearly 1 minute left in this match, and Starburst hasn't given up yet.
There's a lot of fight in this team. They are doing everything they can. They're building specials actually really quickly, so they're doing a great job of building up those booyah bombs and throwing them right into. Let's see if Ice can win this. Is he gonna do it?
He's out of ink. He got more back.
No, we've all been.
Runs out of ink, gets a little bit of backup though, so it's 3-3 on the map, 3-2. Here's the advantage for Starburst. They've got the numbers on the map. 40 seconds left. They have erased the penalty. Now they are just 23 seconds away from claiming the lead. Last time we were on splat zones. Starburst unable to get it with just a few seconds left. This might be the chance here. 8 seconds left for Starburst. Can they claim it? FT Win's gonna have to respond quickly. They don't. Starburst takes the lead with 20 seconds left, and let's call it a knockout and send them to the canvas as Starburst battles back to tie this thing up at 2-2 in Grand Finals 9.
Unbelievable play there, and so often Splat Zones becomes back and forth, right? You take the zone, I take the zone. What is going to be the wrench that gets thrown in there? Kyo got a crucial double on a flank in a bad situation that gave FT Win control again, but a couple of different wins on that far left side, and then Bran having his inkjet at the crucial moment of the game. Guys, these players don't have the specials at the most important time by accident. They know when they need to have it. Having that right there made it so much easier for the rest of his team to get the picks they needed to take home that win.
Did you catch that inkjet pick that Bran had just midair, pulls Kyo just right out of the sky? I mean, that is top level Splatoon. That was amazing.
Clips the wings of the Inkjet and Ashley. For Starburst, they also did a fine job of surviving the specials that were thrown at them and never really losing the zone at any one of those moments.
They did a really good job of holding the area around the Splat Zone. They did an excellent job of getting out just far enough, again, out of range of bombs, every type of bomb imaginable being thrown at them, and then getting right back in, crashing in, making sure that the ground was inked, doing their best to keep that penalty away. So they actually did a good job of defending themselves from the penalty most of the time, which is, that's a great strategy.
And 9, Starburst kind of starting to create their MO, and that is, listen, we might slip at some point early on, but we are going to apply consistent pressure. You're never going to be able to just push us out of the game completely. And we saw that as they never really surrendered the zone for a very long period, no matter what FT Win was trying to do.
No, they didn't. And, one thing that we really haven't talked about, all the players on this team have battled FT Win in long sets before at high-level tournaments. They are no stranger to battling up against FT Win. They're not going to fall for their tricks. It just becomes a matter of execution and coordination. So, are we delighted that this is a great set? Yes, but at the same time, you can't be too surprised when it's these players at this level.
And Ashley, how huge of it was for Starburst to avoid going down 3-1? Changes the entire complexion of these grand finals, I imagine.
It really does. And now, I would imagine Starburst has, they're moving some momentum, right? They're to put it in a Splatoon term, they're pushing that tower. So again, with the consistent pressure, if they can continue to just eke away just chip away little by little at FT Win's, their monolithic, amazing teamwork, I think that they can win this. Like it's completely possible. So yeah, that 2-2 makes a huge difference going into this game as opposed to being down 3-1.
So FT Win, who hasn't really lost many games coming into these grand finals, has lost 2 of them now to Starburst, and we get set here 9 for tower control on Wahoo World. And this is another one of those maps where that second checkpoint is where it seems like all the action happens. And if you can clear that one, you're going to give yourself a tremendous advantage in this particular map.
You are. And, I'm running in my head how these two teams are going to attack this map. And frankly, I'm kind of drawing a blank right now. We've seen that these teams are versatile, but so often there are a couple of weapons that you usually see on this map. Neither of these teams typically brings them. So look at this. It's the tried and true, but Kyo going over to the sloshing machine. And Jordan, that's the sloshing machine Neo. That's a bomb rush weapon.
Oh, let's go ahead and do some laundry and a chance to change things up here, as you mentioned before. Getting things rolling here. Starburst. They are not intimidated by FT Win, the pedigree and the streak that they have been on. They are taking the fight right to FT Win. Starburst. Now, Ashley, we've got a larger map here. So seems like there's going to be a little bit more strategy involved as far as your timing with the pushes.
Definitely more strategy involved with your push timing, but also in that, there's also opportunity to recover, right? So if these teams make mistakes, if there's something that, they go, oh gosh, like, maybe that timing was a little bit off. There is a little bit of time to recover, as opposed to a map like Piranha Pit where it is just tight and you just cannot make a mistake. You have to respond immediately.
Nine, you really like that 1v1 trade. It's one of those situations where, listen, you might be at a disadvantage, but if you can take the other opponent out when you go down as well too, that might be a net gain for your team.
It is. And, you look at that, and I would never advise a player to do what Kyo just did. But it's Kyo, so he's going to make it happen. And again, we talk so much about them having to do something about ice, especially when the tower is in this position and you need range to combat where the opponents are defending from. Being able to take out ice in that situation really, really gives them a better chance to make this a more sustained effort.
Brand trying to back up, feeling a little bit of pressure from that Nautilus to the right. Starburst with a slight 1-point advantage right now over FT Win. Oh, but Biscuit comes up and chews Bran apart. And now it's FT Win with the momentum and the tower moving forward as Biscuit heads out with Kyo on a mission to clear some room. That's going to send Starburst back to spawn. Biscuit lands. Oh, but Biscuit, that's a huge trade right there as well, Nine, because you keep that tower moving.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what Ice was doing over there. They had all of the pedal was on the gas at that point, and the fact that Ice was able to sneak in there and get 2 picks there really stopped that push. But I think we're starting to see how this game is going to end up going. FT Win using their bombs, using some range in this direction to force the opponents in different spots, and then when they've all come down, they push up this way. Last time it was Biscuit, this time it's Kyo and Bursty together. Now look at this, they've just traded positions over and over here at the hotly contested mid.
It's an interesting map, Ashley, because as we said, those first 2 checkpoints are some of the most difficult first 2 checkpoints you have to clear in any map when you're doing tower control, because you're just so exposed out in the open.
You are so exposed, and it's the size of the map. It takes time. And so it's just the longer it takes to get to these checkpoints, the longer you have to stay alive. And so it's, you can't just all crash in and hope that it works out. So you're seeing a lot of this kind of back and forth, like Kyo, he goes in, now he's back out. He's going to go back in and back out. There's a trade. But it's, at the end of the day, there's a lot of back and forth, not only with your whole team, but just individually. You're kind of moving in, getting out, moving in, getting out.
Starburst adding a little bit more padding to their lead. Not much, though, just a 3-point lead. It's 4-2 on the map for FT Win. You've got a special ready to go. Biscuit trying to clear the way with also an Inkjet. So 9, you figure, FT Win. Here's that moment. Here's that opportunity. Just a $1.30 left.
Yeah, this is their opportunity. I think this lead and the rest of this is probably going to go pretty quick here with Jared going down. It does look like Bran actually DC'd as part of this too, so now the 3v4 is going to become the permanent thing that we see.
Very difficult thing to happen. It's part of the reality, though, unfortunately. And so for FT Win, they've got a numbers advantage against Starburst. Starburst trying to hang on. They've got the tower, and it's 2-2 on the map with a special ready to go. Starburst trying to hang on. Here comes a Booyah Bomb to clear out some room, though. You've got a minute left. Starburst, don't sleep on them quite yet. They've taken the lead. They're chipping away at the checkpoint. They have a 3-point lead with 53 seconds left, but it's 3-1 FT Win on this map. We've got some ink armor ready to go for Anthony. Anthony just trying to stay alive with 43 seconds left. FT Win, they know they have to make a push and make it count at this point. Here comes that Inkjet. You've got all hands on deck here, Ashley, for FT Win. You've got to make it count at this moment.
You've got to make it count, and it is so hard to do when you are down a person. I mean, we've been there, right? Everybody has been in that situation. You're in a multiplayer game, and then it just doesn't work out, and then all of a sudden you're at a disadvantage permanently. So they're really going to have to work hard, and unfortunately, 4v3 is pretty tough at this level.
FT Win, they are building upon their lead with 10 seconds left. Looks like they're going to close this one out. They're at checkpoint number 2, 7 seconds left. Now it's just a matter of time as they cover all their bases with all sorts of specials. Credit Starburst for a valiant effort, but 4 versus 3, the math just doesn't add up for Starburst. And that'll give FT Win a 1-game advantage, 3-2, as we get set for Game 6 here. And 9, early on, we didn't see the tower move much, and it was one of those maps where it's really hard to get off to an early lead because of just all the room, all the path that the tower has to cover on Wahoo World.
Yeah, all the room, all the path. And again, the fact that the players are going to be about risk mitigation, right? They're not going to throw themselves at the tower, knowing that they're going to be taken out and put their team at a disadvantage. So I think that the early part of that game is probably what we would have seen for the rest of it. It's just a very, very it's a razor's edge, right? The way that they're fighting. You saw that FT Win was finding different ways to try to flank. Then you saw a response there from Starburst where they started pre-firing in that direction. It's just a chess game back and forth as the players continue to move around the map. And now I really think it's on Starburst to pull themselves back together mentally because, I mean, they had one game stolen away from them in game 2, a very close match on Skipper Pavilion. They had a big win in game 4. They can go toe-to-toe. It's just a matter of calming themselves down now after that unfortunate DC.
But Ashley, if you pour your glass of juicy juice, you can look at it half full as well too. If you're Starburst and realize, hey, we had a DC and we almost claimed that game, and then we were just a couple seconds away from the best team in North America. Obviously, we've got 2 more matches. We can do this. We just got to make sure we have everybody stick together and that we really close things out. I imagine there's some good optimism on the side of Starburst.
I mean, when you have a DC, it's just, it's not in your control, right? You didn't make a mistake. You didn't mess up. You didn't lose momentum. I think, there's a way to just say exactly what you said, which is like, okay, things didn't swing our way that time. That's okay. Like, we were doing really great. We almost took it. I think if Bran had been there for frontlining, like, they may in fact have taken it because that was a really good push by them. So this next map is going to be very interesting to see how Starburst responds, how they come out of the gate. Can they keep that sort of level of enthusiasm that they may have been feeling right out of game 4?
Well, you mentioned next map, next mode. It's going to be Splat Zones on Starfish main stage, and 9, obviously the main stage is where all the action takes place. But then you look at what you do after you claim the zone, and what are high-level teams trying to achieve when they're trying to lock out that zone on this map?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because there is an area on the right side, if you're coming out of your spawn, on the right side where you have a ton of elevation and you can build up a ton of special up there without much contesting. So look for them to put their inkjets on that side to try to push up and make sure that those specials don't get built for free. But the flanks on this map, seems like every time we see this map at a high level, there's a moment where in the chaos, somebody slips around those grates on the left or right side and really breaks the game open for one team.
Yeah, you've got multiple entry points and multiple levels as well too, Ashley, because we've seen players go the high ground and drop down on the main stage. And so there's almost too many entry points that you can't cover if you are on offense and you're trying to lock out that zone. You've got 4 players, but multiple entry points, which makes it very difficult sometimes to force the other team out.
It sounds a little wild, oftentimes in a map like Starfish main stage, you need somebody to pull the weight of 2 players, right? You have to have like that one player who's just having a power outage. They're going off. Like they are just absolutely on it. They feel like having an extra play. It feels like having an extra player on your team. Like that's what you need in a situation or in a map like Starfish main stage.
So it's game 6 here, a chance for FT Win to claim yet another championship to add to their impressive resume that they've been building since 2019. But 9 for Starburst, you got to imagine that you're pretty discouraged from last game, as you mentioned, but you are still in this. And Splat Zones, you won this on Humpback Pump Track. So even more confidence, even more opportunity for you to get back into this one and force a game 7 where anything can happen.
Yeah, I think they have to feel very comfortable with how they've played on Splat Zones. I know it's been very hotly contested on both sides, but again, they were 1 pick away from winning back in game 2, and they had a huge comeback, a very dominant comeback in the end to win in game 4. So I have to feel like they feel their Splat Zones game measures up, right? In every metric, they can keep up, they can take the zone, they can execute when they need to, they can win 1v1s. The boxes are all checked. I think for them, it's just going to be a matter of, again, identifying how FT Win is going to attack them. We saw on Wahoo World how they were attacking them from the flanks. I'm expecting to see even more on a map like this.
And Ashley, the consistent pressure from Starburst, they do a fine job of making sure they never get that full wipe or down to 1 player where they can always just have somebody in the heat of the battle. We saw that at Humpback Pump Track where, yeah, they took that initial punch, but then for the rest of the game, they were covering the map, covering the zone, and really FT Win never had a moment to breathe or exhale the rest of the match.
Yeah, we never really saw FT Win kind of just have an open runway, right? We never saw them be able to just run with it. They always had Starburst was always applying pressure. One of the things that I really appreciate about the way Starburst plays is even if they're down, to two players, to one player, they make really strategic choices about when to go in and at least try to get a pick, at least try to take somebody out. And then, they really make that effort to not be staggered from each other for respawn. And I think that that's a really key strategy for, any team to try to beat a team like FT Win, because you have to have that united front. You can't really have anybody staggered. And we saw that happen in the last Splat Zone where they just barely couldn't pull it out. Ice was staggered from his teammates. And so it just ended up being one of those situations where, Ice couldn't get posted up. He couldn't set up. And then his teammates were then not having that coverage from the back line. And so I think if they can do that, if they can fix that, which they did a really good job of that in Humpback Pump Track. And so I think if they can do that and continue to do that, I think they have a real shot at winning this game.
And Nine, on this map, when you take the zone, there is a bit of a drop off as you start to move into opponent territory. And it seems like you can use the height of the stage to your advantage, but the problem is the zone's right back behind you.
Yeah, the zone's right behind you. And, so often at higher levels, the match becomes fighting ahead of the zone. You don't want, if you get taken down by an unfortunate bomb, I know you know a thing or two about that, Jordan. Just
all the time.
All the time.
That's Jordan's nickname, actually, just unfortunate bomb.
It is. Many times I've heard that call out. But fighting ahead of the zone, there's a lot of good advantages to it, especially on a map like this. And we talked about how easy it is to build your special when you're coming out of spawn. It makes it that much more important that you take the fight to the opponent. Now, I know that FT Win has been talking more recently about reining back some of that aggression, especially on a map like this, trying to hold the zone, force the opponent to come to them and make the mistakes. But I think as so often it's a matter of adapting to what's happening now. You can't do anything, you can't set a whole game plan and trust that that's going to work. So.
All right, we're going to restart back up at 2-2. We're going to actually replay the previous match on Wahoo World Tower Control. As we mentioned before, we had some technical difficulties. So we're going to go ahead and get a chance to run that back. So here's an opportunity for Starburst, who was maybe staring down a 3-2 deficit, to now make it 2-2, and you get a chance to retry things with your entire squad. And so, Ashley, we talk about momentum and excitement. This has to be a huge boost to Starburst here.
Huge boost. And, I mean, look, that's what we love about Splatoon, right? It's fair. It's the thing we love the most about it. This is a great opportunity for Starburst. I mean, they had the strategy, like Nine said, they were doing all the right things in this map before that disconnect. And I think that this could be a real chance for them to flip the script a little bit.
Now, for both teams here, Nine, you got a sample size of how they're going to approach this map and this mode. And so I imagine you look at how quickly FT Win can process information and adapt. That's going to be very advantageous to them to see how Starburst was playing on Wahoo World.
Yeah, I think that both of these teams are going to gain a lot from that. And, seeing how they adapt in the mid-game scenarios, I think is big. And, like we were talking about there in the Splat Zones games, you can identify what the opponent's doing. You then have to quickly re-identify in the moment. But I'm so happy this is happening. Now there is no asterisk next to this set, and these teams can truly duke it out the distance.
I know we aren't complaining because we get more Splatoon. So here we go, 2-2. We're going to re-rack things and strike it once again with the cue ball here on Tower Control on Wahoo World. And so we saw early on, Ashley, how difficult it is to even get to that first checkpoint at the beginning, because you're just so out in the open and exposed to all the elements.
You really are. And, it really takes teamwork to get you in there to that tower at the beginning. I mean, you can't be a lone squid. You can't be a lone squid in this game, especially not on Wahoo World and especially not Tower Control at Wahoo World.
Starburst wants to strike first. 4-3 advantage on the map. Booyah Bomb coming. Can they clear their first checkpoint? And that's a huge hurdle to clear for Starburst. They take a 63-100 lead, but they're able to check off the first assignment. And let's keep the tower moving here. Nine is Anthony, and that ink armor going to really help out his teammates.
Yeah, fantastic. And look at that. They were able to cycle 2 Booyah Bombs over the duration of that push, too. Now, Brand's going to push forward. Are they going to walk past both checkpoints? They are. All the way into the 30s. They're going to get a jump in here to maybe keep some pressure. But I think Brand has the right idea here. Hey, we got what we came for. Let's back up and play defense for a little minute.
So Starburst striking first, getting a huge advantage over FT Win. And now it's FT Win that'll have to play on the offensive the majority of this matchup here. And got no problem doing that as Shaq and the crew go ahead and get the splat, and they're marching forward with no hesitation. 4-2 on the map. Starburst gonna have to really respond here, Ashley, and this is when you got to build up those specials so quickly. You see 1, 2, and 3 ready to go here soon.
Well, there's a lot of purple ink on the ground, so I have a feeling they won't have any problem building up those specials. Got the Booyah Bomb, getting everybody off the tower. They're taking it back, but I mean, this is going to be tough. There's a lot of purple ink on the ground. FT Win is FT Win is maybe they seem maybe a little bit tilted about it, right?
Brandon, that baller, trying to help out the defensive efforts of Starburst here. FT Win has to clear 2 checkpoints. That's 1 down as they move forward. It's still 4-3 on the map. So FT Win, what kind of response did they have after Starburst got out to the early lead? Checkpoint 2, and just like that, FT Win knocking on the door, and they reclaim the lead here. So 9, FT Win showing that they can also be aggressive.
I'm going to say haymaker after haymaker after haymaker here. They're continuing to throw everything they have at this tower, and right now Ice is in a pretty good position, but Biscuit has the perfect remedy for that. But then Jared responds by jumping up and getting that pick. This is what we're talking about. It's never just what's right in front of you. There's always an unknown threat on the other side. But great work to FT Win, taking a lead back after what looked like a very rough opening.
Jared doing a fine job of avoiding 2 members of FT Win and then getting that pick, as you pointed out here, 9, and that has turned the momentum in the favor of Starburst. Here comes Jared once again, sneaking through the ink to get another splat. And here's Starburst loaded up. 4-2, Ashley. Here's another opportunity to recapture the lead.
That Biscuit pick was a really big deal. Being able to take out that backline with that range is just really key. I am so curious what's about to happen.
Starburst. Tower gets stopped at 33. They're trailing 26-33. Tower gets sent in reverse. Starburst gonna have to recapture it. It's 4-on-4, so expect a lot of action taking place here. Starburst able to squeeze through there, but just 1 point away. And FT Win able to hold on and gets a complete wipe, 9.
Unbelievable. It's not going to show up on the highlight reel, but when all those Booyah Bombs and bombs and missiles were going, Bursty was able to use that ink rail to get to the top. That meant that there was always a bomb on tower and always a threat that meant that they couldn't push as well. That's what we talked about when we talked about a support player on tower control.
FT Win sending the tower back. Both teams have cleared the first 2 checkpoints, so expect these threats to come much quicker here as we're under a minute left. Kyo gets splatted. Huge help right there, Ashley, because if you can turn a 1v1 to a 2v1, any team's going to appreciate that.
I mean, especially with Kyo. I think a lot of times you gotta send a second player in against Kyo. He's such a strong brawler. He's so good at what he does. And so, wow, this is just a lot of bombs going off right now.
Plenty of action on the field. 3-2 advantage for FT Win as we see Starburst. They were threatening for a second, but under 30 seconds left. Oh, no. Brand getting a huge splat on Biscuit. Brand once more, though. Nothing wrong with being greedy in this situation. Tower coming back in the direction of FT Win. Starburst has time for one more push. Here comes the baller from Brand, trying to take out a couple members of FT Win, clear some real estate. Unable to get anybody here, but it's 4-3 for Starburst. Can they hold on? That tower is moving. Booyah Bomb coming out, but take a look at your top left over here. Bursty, Kyo, Shaq, all descending upon the tower, and that is enough of a defensive effort there, 9, to close things out once again for FT Win.
You know, we talked it up earlier. We said if all 4 members were there for both teams, we were going to see back and forth until the end. We talked up and they delivered. What a fantastic game. 12 Booyah Bombs coming out from Starburst there, but it wasn't enough. And again, FT Win getting over to that alcove, that overhang on the top left before the threat was there meant that they were going to be able to stop all of that. And again, the awareness, knowing when to get over there, when you had the opportunity to. What a fantastic set these guys have put on.
Yeah.
And actually, that game was so exciting because both teams, unlike the previous match on Tower Control Wahoo World, they cleared both checkpoints very quickly, both teams. And so then that allows you to respond much faster when you're trying to recapture the lead.
Yeah, I mean, when you're able to take that tower back and you've already cleared 2 checkpoints, well, it's a little easier, obviously. You don't have to stop anywhere. There's no pit stops. No one's taking a break. You just go, go, go. But yeah, I mean, oh man, watching FT Win get up there on that rail and really hold that ground. It was the difference maker, right? That's the thing that Nine always talks about, which is playing just a little bit ahead of where the action is, a little bit ahead of the tower, a little bit ahead of the Rainmaker. And it's that anticipation, that sort of understanding of being in that situation before and saying, okay, I know what needs to be done. I have to get to high ground. I have to play a little bit ahead of my opponents. And that's exactly what happened. And that is the 1 point difference, right? That's that slight difference that captures the win.
What's crazy to me, Nine, is FT Win has a 3-2 lead here in Grand Finals, 1 game away from claiming this championship for the Splatoon 2 North American Open, September 2020. 8 seconds, and you have a different outcome in 2 of these matches, and it is Starburst with the win overall, taking 4 games. So that shows you how close Starburst has been to dethroning FT Win, but you have to make those plays in those moments when it's just 1 or 2 points away from recapturing the lead.
Yeah, that's always the thing with the champions, right? If this went different, if the coin landed on heads, if, guys, you either win or you don't.
Nine,
enough.
just bringing the heat right
Ruthless.
there.
It's,
The ruthless Nine.
It is because we have heard this conversation so much. There's always like, FT Win just wins. They find those plays over and over again. It's never a coincidence. It's always close, but they always manage to pull it out. And again, I think Starburst, they have the tools. They check all the boxes. There's just something. There's one element in the heat of battle that changes, and we'll see if they can find it here in these last 2 games.
You can check your feelings at the door when Coach Nine gives you the post-game speech right there. I like it. And so we get set for Splat zones here in Starfish main stage. And Ashley, we were talking about this earlier, just how important it is for teams once they get this zone. You got to just stay alive because you really can't close off one particular entrance. There's so many different ways to get back into this map. And it's going to be exciting to see how these teams try to play with that zone control here.
I mean, we've seen in 2 of these games that Starburst has lost. They've lost by such a slim margin. There is no room for error here. So they have really got to come out swinging. They have really got to come out ready to put up everything they have against FT Win right now.
Duran able to get all 4 members of FT Win in his sights with that Tenta missile shot. But once again, it's Starburst with an early advantage as they recapture the lead from FT Win. 82-88. It's 4-4 on the field at this point. Starburst trying to hang in there and force a Game 7 for FT Win. Just 1 game separates them from yet another victory in a North American competition. But so far, Starburst very comfortable playing this set on the stage at this moment. And for FT Win 9, what are you seeing from them as far as how they're trying to approach this zone at the current moment?
Well, actually, Kill got taken out there, so I think that kind of slowed their approach. You see that Bursty's moving in sort of because he has to here. They're running out of time. Kill comes back at the right moment. So again, it's going to be Biscuit's Inkjet that's going to push them in, but that took a long time. And I think, again, you see one getting picked off here. It seems like they're just a little staggered here at the start. Starburst may have found an answer, but as always, FT Win finds the answer themselves. Now they are in control.
You see Starburst retreating back. Now it's FT Win with full control of the zone, and they're starting to march forward ever so slowly. Jared able to get out of your field of view, stay alive. That's huge for Starburst, with Shaq going to rain down some Tenta missiles. And here it is, FT Win. About 21 seconds away from tying this thing up. Can Starburst apply the penalty, or will FT Win be able to come back just in time? Both teams going back and forth for this zone. It's up for grabs at this moment, and FT Win able to recapture it. So they are just 10 seconds away from recapturing the lead from Starburst. A decisive Game 6 for FT Win if they can get the victory. And Ashley, here they come. They've got the zone, and they are pushing forward now.
That was a really big deal that they were able to take back that Splat zone before they were penalized. Man, I really, that 4-2 advantage came in very, very handy in keeping away that penalty.
Starburst gets the zone, though. Hefty penalty on FT Win at this point, so you've got some time to play with here. You got a special ready to go. Let's see if Brand uses those Tenta missiles as the Fizzy Bomb splashes its way across the main stage. And 9, what we're seeing here from Starburst is they're finally starting to push out and not play quite as defensive.
They aren't, and actually, you saw right there that Jared was sneaking up as Ice was pushing, covering fire up, and it was actually the missiles there that revealed Jared's position, so that was huge. That was a great attack. But look at this. Now Ice has an opportunity to kind of close this game out here. Just a few seconds. Everyone going to be firing at the zone. The lead going the other way. They might be able to punish this jump.
Starburst with 6 seconds left to force a Game 7. They just got to hold on, and that'll do it. Starburst forces a Game 7 against FT Win, recapturing the lead late in this one. So Starburst not willing to give up quite yet. They're trying to shine here as we get set for a decisive Game 7. You love it in grand finals. So FT Win looking at a Game 7 for the first time in a long time here. And Ashley, how about Starburst? Just the consistency once again in a splat zone to keep applying pressure, not giving up, even though they faced a steep deficit early on.
I mean, we really said they had to make almost no errors. That is what happened. They played a very, very good, strong game. I mean, you love to see it, right? That's what we love. This is the best of the best. Like they're going the distance, and they played a great game.
So 9, here we go. Game 7, Rainmaker, Anchovy Games. It's all on the line at this point, and just give us an idea of what a Starburst victory here would mean when you look at the reign of dominance we've seen from FT Win.
I mean, that's going to be the talking point for a while here. You know, it is one tournament, right? Even a loss here today does not take FT Win off the top of the rankings, I think, for most people. But to show that this is not something that FT Win can show up to and win over and over and over again. I'm not sure that they've dropped 3 games over the course of all of the tournaments they've played, with the exception of PAX East. But I mean, all of these events, they have almost slept walkthrough. They've been able to beat all of these teams, all of these players. And for there to be just one tiny blip on that, I think really opens up and shows all of these players that, yes, you can reach as high as you want to. It's not just one team at the top. And I think if nothing else, it's encouraging for all these other players.
So we look at Rainmaker on Anchovy Games, and Ashley, there's always the decision of which route you want to take here on Anchovy Games. You can raise the platform and go directly in, or you can sort of go through the back entrance. But either way, it's a narrow alleyway, which puts a tremendous amount of pressure on any push that you're trying to make with that Rainmaker on this map.
This is a tough one to KO. This is a tough map to KO. There are only 2 lanes, means you can cover it pretty well as a team. You know, coming up, I would argue the fastest route is the ramp, is not the back ramp, the main platform.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, if you're coming up that way, you're giving up the high ground. You have to be really confident that you can get in there and make that platform rise and get off of it as quickly as possible, so that, you know, you're not on the low ground anymore. So this is going to be a very interesting game, I think.
Last time these two teams faced off in Rainmakers on Inkblot Art Academy, we saw FT Win get the victory there, and it wasn't really much of a push based upon that map here. 9, Anchovy Games, Rainmaker. It is very fascinating to see the approach that teams take here, and you really just have to make sure you can't make that one big mistake that puts you in such a disadvantageous state where you're now forced to play offense the entire game.
Right, because this is a map where, like you guys have said, it can be difficult to make the big push. Once you get up over that fin and get into that pit area, the points start to fly off the board. I mean, from about 40 to 20 goes by in the blink of an eye here. So there's going to be a big scramble. But guys, I'm most curious what Ice is going to play this match, because this would be a map where you could bring out the Stingray, but his Splatling has been so good.
It's been really, really good.
So as we said before, it's 3-3 as we get set for this Game 7. We've looked at the bracket before. Both these teams swept their way through semifinals. not losing a single game. Now they're facing a decisive Game 7, Rainmaker Anchovy Games. What's at stake for the winner? Well, of course, the bragging rights of Inkopolis, but a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Tennis Aces, and ARMS. But as we said, FT win. They've been so impressive over this past year and a half in North America. Can a new team jump onto the scene and really mix things up in Starburst? They've already made a lot of noise here, but a victory would go a long way. And so if you are the Starburst here, Ashley, I imagine you feel like you're playing with house money where, hey, listen, we have nothing to lose. We've pushed them to the brink. Let's just go out there and play loose and play free.
Sure. I mean, that's, I think that there's a little bit of an advantage in the fact that they're a pickup team, and maybe, that gives For the Win a little bit less time to suss out their strategies, to really know. I mean, they all scrim against each other. They're all playing, against each other all the time in ranked modes. But I definitely think that there is maybe a little bit of an advantage to being kind of a little mysterious about your strategy, right? So it's because they're a newer team. There's maybe a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah, Nine, I'm looking at what you said also about the decision between the Stingray and the choices for Ice. And Ice has really played a pivotal role in so many of the victories here for Starburst. And I imagine here, what would you do in that situation if you've been so good with the primary weapon, but you know that a special might be better suited for a particular map and mode?
Well, now you're really putting me under the gun with this one. I think I'm going to go back to the default that is used all across sports, ride the hot hand, right? Your Splatling has been great all over the course of this, and you didn't use it the last time you were on Rainmaker either. And I think that probably is telling. Inkblot Art Academy is a good map to use Stingray on. You can set back, you can attack the opponent from distance, there's a nice angle you can set up. If you didn't use it there, that may be the proof that we need to see that Ice isn't going to use it here.
And sometimes you're just feeling it, right?
Yeah.
He's just feeling it. He's in the zone with that heavy Splatling. Like, we just, you let Ice pick whatever he wants to pick, right?
So a Game 7 and Grand Finals. It's all come down to this. All the splatting back and forth between Starburst and FT Win. And Starburst was facing elimination in Game 6. They're able to get the victory in Splat Zones on Starfish main stage. And it will be exciting to see what happens here. Teams finally getting calibrated, getting set for this Game 7. You know that they're probably thinking about a lot of strategy here. And Nine Rainmaker, it can happen and be over in a blink of an eye if you are able to play it the right way. And you really have to be careful about, when you're on defense, it seems like, of not giving up too much precious space, and you really have to make your specials count, especially on defense.
Absolutely, it's risk mitigation. Ashley, let me take you back to PAX. We said on Game 7 there that was where Kyo needed to come up and play big. He has switched to a weapon we have not seen him use over the entire tournament. The Soda Slosher, the most aggressive of the sloshers. He sees blood in the water and he wants to make his claim.
Kyo is so good he's so aggressive, and the combination of him and Shaq is just unbelievably strong. It's so great, and I am very excited to see what he does with that slosher. It's a risk though, right? It's a risk to switch to something you haven't been playing this entire time.
You've got 3 members of FT Win on that left platform at this point, so they're a bit concentrated over there. You see Starburst trying to sneak over and ink some territory to make some leeway for the Rainmaker. Neither team has grabbed it. We're nearly a minute into this initial match. Game 7. Winner of this will be the winner of your Splatoon 2 North American Open September 2020. But now we've got FT Win with the Rainmaker. It gets removed, and that is a huge splat by Brand. So now let's see if Starburst can turn things around. You see the Rainmaker just sitting there for anyone to claim. I imagine they'll let that go back to neutral. Why risk the situation to get splatted here for Starburst? Brand trying to make some way here. Just a lot of back and forth action at this point here, Nine, as you really want to make sure you have a numbers advantage, especially on this map if you're going to make that push.
You do. I mean, you said it right there. It took a minute before a team finally got up onto the fan there with the Rainmaker, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that left. They're waiting for the opponent to make the mistake and trusting that as long as they have an opportunity to make a push, they'll be able to execute. But I think right now this might be a little too much respect that Starburst is giving them. They gave up that fan instantly. Look how far back Ant is here. They're going to get set up over there, and actually that's Jared going down, and again, it's just Brand's Inkjet that's holding things together for them.
3-1 advantage, Ashley, for FT Win. You figure you got to make it count at this point because you've got Starburst pushed way back, and here they go.
Ant's doing everything in his power to keep himself alive. He really was working hard there. He was trying to keep his special. He's trying to just stay out of their way, but wow. FT Win just aggressively pushing forward. They are fired up. They want to win a game 7. I would imagine the adrenaline has got to be up there. They're always composed, but any game 7 for any competitor has got to be a little bit more exciting than every other game.
Yeah, we saw that big splat by Ice to keep FT Win from pushing the Rainmaker deep in their own territory. It gives a chance for Starburst to finally get the Rainmaker and try to advance. But you see FT Win covering the right side. That's where Starburst is trying to make their run. Rainmaker applying a little pressure. Shaq able to avoid trouble and gets the splat. And how about that? Wow. Shaq doing all the work that you need to do to stop that advance by Starburst.
Shaq saved that game. They had an Inkjet at a great spot. They had a flanker that was coming around the other end. Shaq shut that down and was able to get the Rainmaker right here. He had to get both of those, or that push might still be going.
You're going to see the Rainmaker resetting a ton here because it takes a lot of effort to get to the other team's side here. Most teams will just let it reset in the middle here, as it does. Kyo holding down the fort right by the Rainmaker. Going to get bursted by FT Win. You see neither team really with terrific control of the map. It's real back and forth. All 4 members on the field for both of them. Here comes an Inkjet from Brand, though, trying to eliminate a few members of FT Win, so Starburst can try and get another push. $130 here, Ashley. It's 3-2 for Starburst on the map.
That was a big pick for Brand to pull Biscuit out of the game right now, where the Rainmaker is just waiting on the platform. They're building up their specials. They've already got 2. This could go really well for Starburst. They have to be able to convert, though.
Ice with the Booyah Bomb, trying to find a spot to throw it. Just over a minute left. Starburst trailing by 32. They've got to make a significant push at this point because for FT Win, the clock is on your side. FT Win trying to get one more victory here in this game 7, but Starburst, they've got the Rainmaker. They're advancing. Oh, but it gets stopped right there. Another strong defensive effort by FT Win. 9.
It is, and again, it seemed like they got maybe just a little bit overeager trying to make the push. I don't know if they felt like time was running out, that they were getting flanked, but they used 3 specials to get it to that point, and then it seemed like they had an opportunity, but nobody from FT Win was down yet.
So FT Win with the Rainmaker and 30 seconds away from becoming your champions. Starburst will need their best effort of the entire tournament. They want to try and keep things alive in their favor, but Bursty has no issue just staying alive, and that's going to be a difficult spot for that Rainmaker to get gathered, so they're going to have to burst it immediately. 13 seconds left for Starburst. They have a 4-3 advantage. 10 seconds left. Got to make your final push of the entire tournament here. Can FT Win hang on for yet another victory? This thing's going to go into overtime of Game 7. Starburst has a lot of ground to make up. 10 of missiles missing Ice. Ice is just sitting back. Don't forget there's a timer on the Rainmaker as well, too. You can't just sit back all day long. Lots of action going ahead. Starburst trying to get an advantage. It's 4-4 on the map. They've got some teammates jumping in behind Ice. Here's Jared trying to push Shaq out of the way. But here come all 3 members of FT Win. Now it's down to just 3-2. Can FT Win get the final splat to close things out? Starburst doing all that they can to stay alive. But FT Win, the champs, continue to reign. That's how they do it. Doesn't matter if it's Game 4 or Game 7. FT Win adds another victory to their resume. Whew. Starburst did a lot to stay alive there. We're running out of breath towards the end, but FT Win, once again, just a textbook victory. You get the early lead, you play defense, and then you don't lose your cool when Starburst is trying to make that final push.
I mean, again, I want to go back to Shaq getting that double when the push was coming the other way. That was, so often we say a push has so many boxes it has to check. You have to get an early pick, you have to have good control, you have to have 2 or 3 specials, and you have to be positioned right. All of those boxes were checked there. You had Brand's Inkjet, you had Jared on the correct side, you had the correct person with the Rainmaker, and yet Shaq made the play, held his position, and was able to do everything necessary to stop what was the most threatening push. After that, it was just a matter of them playing their game, sitting back, throwing bombs, and just win, baby. It's what they do.
It's what they do.
Let's take a look at the updated bracket. FT Win, your champions of the Splatoon 2 North American Open September 2020, a thrilling Game 7 in grand finals. They get the victory over Starburst 4-3. But Ashley, just the fact that we saw Starburst push FT Win to the brink says so much about the evolution of the competitive scene, especially in North America, and how even 3 years later, this game continues to evolve and change in ways that keeps everybody on their toes.
It definitely does. And the great thing I think about, FT Win has won so many matches. They've won so many matches in North America. And I think that the rest of the community getting to watch them play at this level has really, one, like, set the pace for everybody else to compete. And they have really, all of these other teams have really risen to the occasion and competed in a way that is really compelling. And to see this go 7 games, I mean, the future is, who knows what could happen? I mean, in the future, it feels like FT Win has got some real competition out there, and it was really great to be able to see this go 7 games.
Well, congratulations to both Starburst and FT Win. Starburst giving us one heck of a showing here in the finals against FT Win, but it'll be the members of FT Win that will all take home a digital download code for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, ARMS, and of course, Mario Tennis Aces. So that'll do it for the Splatoon 2 North American Open September 2020. Huge thank you to both these commentators, Ashley Esqueda, Charles Nine Whitehead. Fantastic job today. Big thank you to our wonderful crew behind the scenes, and to all of you that checked out the fun action this afternoon. Make sure you continue to check Nintendo.com for all of your exciting Nintendo competitive action. From all of us here, we look forward to the next time that we can all see each other and enjoy the exciting action. Take care.